Will Brett Favre's body hold up for an entire season? Will he put himself through that again? That is one of the questions we will try and answer here on the show. Welcome to you. I'm Lauren Shehadi. He's Dave Richard. Brett Favre, I don't care where he is right now. Come season, is he under center for the Vikings or is he taking his kids to school?
You know, I think he's going to be under center for the Vikings, but it's pending one factor, and that is that his shoulder is healthy. That's the latest with him right now. He has seen Dr. James Andrews regarding the strength of that shoulder. His right tendon is torn. If it's partially torn, he might need to get it completely torn. He might need some major surgery to go along with it. Lauren, if he needs major surgery, he's not coming back. But any other circumstance, and I think he will play for the Vikings in 2009.
And let's talk about that quarterback situation in Minnesota. Dave,
Sure.
Two unproven starters in Sage Rosenfels and Tavares Jackson. If he's there, what kind of value will he bring?
Well, I think he's going to be big for the Vikings on a number of fronts. First of all, he's going to be playing his games indoors. The Vikings, 11 indoor games in 2009, and these are his last numbers over his last 5 games playing indoors. He did not play indoors at all while he was with the Jets. Now, to me, he's going to be playing 8 home games inside. He's got Detroit on the road. He's got 2 games against Detroit. That's going to be good for him. It all leads to a brighter picture for him where Minnesota will still be a running team. I don't think they're going to ask Brett Favre to pass a whole lot. He's going to get maybe 20 to 25 attempts per game, assuming that's a close game and that the Vikings aren't far behind. Either way, it's going to be good for him because most defenses are going to be setting up to stop Adrian Peterson. But on the flip side, Adrian Peterson's also going to have it well because defenses are still going to have to respect Brett Favre's arm. He's going to have to play well in order for that to keep going. But Peterson, he might never see 8 in the box with Brett Favre under center. Anybody else back there, whether it's Rosenfels or Tavares Jackson, and you know Adrian Peterson's going to see 8 in the box constantly.
Do you think it would be a temporary solution if Favre is under center to a much bigger problem for the Vikings?
It's definitely a temporary solution. They're looking at this definitely as their one-shot deal to try and make it to the Super Bowl with Brett Favre. I don't see him playing in 2010. But, of course, I would have told you last year that I wouldn't see him playing in 2009. It's a crazy situation. It really is. And what it's really all about might be Brett Favre trying to get back at Green Bay, maybe Brett Favre trying one last time to win a ring. I really think he came back last year because he didn't like how his career ended in Green Bay. Now this year, I don't think he liked how his career ended with the Jets, so now he's going to try and smooth that over with a year in Minnesota. We're just going to have to wait and see. It's a soap opera.
Absolutely. And how about another veteran on the move in Tony Gonzalez? Will he be what the Atlanta Falcons, that one threat that they were missing? Why is he projected as a bust in 2009?
Well, he's not going to be a bust because of anything that we say here. He's still going to be a #1 fantasy tight end, but you might have too high expectations for him. And I'm going to show you some stats that don't make him an elite #1 fantasy tight end. Look at this. With 1,000-yard rushers, this has been 5 years over the course of his career. He's averaged about 882 yards a season, 6 touchdowns per year. Lauren, you'd take that from your tight end, right?
Done.
But you'd rather have the numbers below. His last 5 years without a 1,000-yard rusher, over 1,100 yards receiving, 8.4 touchdowns. Lauren, I know you would rather have the bottom line over that second
But
white
that's
line.
not a bust right there.
Well, it depends on your definition of bust.
Okay.
Okay, and if you're going to draft Tony Gonzalez to be your #1 tight end and you're going to do it with a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, maybe make him the first tight end off your board, you're making a big mistake because he's going to deliver that first set of numbers because you know the Falcons are going to get 1,000 yards out of Michael Turner. You know that they're going to use Jarius Norwood out of the backfield as well. And so I think you've got to wait specifically until Gates, Witten, and Dallas Clark are off the board before you can get your hands on Tony Gonzalez. If you take him before any of those 3 guys, you're wasting the pick. And if you pass on those 3 guys and then somebody else gets Gonzalez, it's not a big deal. You can still get somebody with comparable stats down the line, somebody like Greg Olsen or Dustin Keller.
We'll have to wait and see how his numbers turn out. What about this next guy's numbers? I'm talking about Deangelo Williams. 18 rushing touchdowns. Do I have that right?
18 rushing touchdowns
nuts.
last year. That was
what
pretty
about
nuts.
this year?
Well, you know, 2 games he had 8 touchdowns. He had 2 4-touchdown games last year. All right, Deangelo Williams is the hot button topic in fantasy right now. He went pretty high in our first mock draft after the NFL draft, and people are asking, why would we take Deangelo Williams so high? You're only doing it because he had such a big year last year. Well, they've got a good point, Lauren. Deangelo Williams did have a huge breakout year, so I decided to do a little bit of digging. There are 20 running backs in the history of the NFL that have had at least 18 rushing touchdowns in a season. Of those 20, only 3 put up more than 18 touchdowns the following year, and you're looking at them. Emmitt Smith, Priest Holmes, and LaDainian Tomlinson. Everybody remembers what LT did in 2006, 28 rushing touchdowns. That's just insane. 5 running backs in the history of the NFL that had 18 rushing touchdowns or more during a season got hurt the following year. They were never the same. A lot of fantasy owners will remember Terrell Davis as being one of those rushers. Now, here's the good news. This is the bright side for Deangelo Williams. Of the 20, 11 of them had at least 10 touchdowns the following year. So I think it's safe to assume that Deangelo Williams, he's got a great offensive line. He's going to share the ball with Jonathan Stewart. There's a good enough passing threat in Carolina with Musha Muhammad and Steve Smith there. I think you're looking at Deangelo Williams as a potential 10 to 12 touchdown guy, and that's what we've got him projected as.
And that's not bad, but the odds are against 18 again.
Yeah, I think obviously the odds are against 18. Only 15% of the players that ever did it again the next year. But our stats for Deangelo in 2009, I think that they're still pretty good, and they're still first-round running back worthy. 1,271 yards rushing, 11 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown on top of that. One concern, Carolina's early season schedule versus Philadelphia, at Atlanta, then at Dallas, then a week 4 bye. It always stings to have early byes with your studs. And then against Washington, remember they added Albert Hainsworth. That's going to hurt them against the run this year. So Deangelo doesn't have the best schedule to start the year out.
Dave.
You can still take him, but where would you take him?
Oh, I don't know.
Would you take him in first round?
You have to tell me that.
I'm telling you that if it's a late...
I would take him first round, late first round.
Exactly. Late first round is exactly where you'd want to go with Deangelo. I've seen some drafts where he goes in round 2. I've actually passed on him in round 2 in one draft that I was in because receptions counted and I went in a different direction. But if you can get him in round 2, you're committing larceny. Everything else, just don't take him as a top 5 guy.
And if you are obsessed with fantasy football, just like we are, you can follow Dave. He's on Twitter. He's, what is it, twittering?
Twittering.
Are you tweeting?
I don't know what I'm doing on there. I'm just writing stuff. I'm delivering,
That's
news
right.
we got.
Anything you need to know.
A lot of players are on there, too. You can make good contact with them. And, of course, it's a great place to ask your questions. If you've got concerns about your fantasy team now, during the year, whatever, Twitter me. I'll write you back.
Or tweet him. Doesn't matter. Same thing.
Whatever it is. We've got another Twitterer, David Clowney of the Jets, coming on our podcast this week. Everybody should check out CBSSports.com on Friday to hear what's going through the mind of one of the young up-and-coming receivers in the NFL, in David Clowney with the Jets' third-year receiver this year. He's got a lot on his mind. We're going to talk to him about it.
Make sure to check it out. For Dave Richard, I'm Lauren Shehadi. Thanks for watching.